Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us here today. And Tom Sawyer is back to talk Warrior football again this week. I guess we'll just let you kind of tell us what happened against Minnesota State Mankato.
Well, one of the things we really worked on going into the game was just to play a mistake-free game to the best of our ability. And for the most part, we did that. We really did. We actually played pretty well. It was a very physical game. We just couldn't overcome the deficit that we got ourselves into. We got the ball in the opening drive and threw a pick on the first play, and it flipped momentum right away. And I think our defense rallied pretty well behind that. They did score, but they took it to the 10 on the return. So we got ourselves in a hole. But our kids, the sideline was like, okay, well, here we go. We're down 7. There wasn't any panic. We have a pretty mature ball club for the most part, and so going forward, I'm like, okay, we spotted them 7 at home. It's going to be a little tougher task, but not one that we couldn't overcome. And we just couldn't get the ball in the end zone offensively. We ended up with 3 turnovers, which killed us. You just can't turn the ball over anytime, but especially in big games, because the defenses or the offense that they have, can chew some clock up and those things when they run the football. But overall, our kids played well against a really good football team, and it's a team that we felt that we matched up well with, and we'll ask our guys later in the show about that. But it's not the best Mankato team that we've ever faced, but it's also a very good one, and we feel like we're right in the mix with the best in the league. We just got to put a full 60 minutes together and play mistake-free football, at least in the big mistakes, turnovers, third and longs, those kind of things where if they commit, like one scrambled out and hit a 50-yard pass on us. Those things are killers. And so if we can just stay away from that and just play a good, solid football game, we can beat anybody in the league.
Before we get into specifics from the game, it's been a night and day difference between the games that you've won and the games that you've lost. Do you see any kind of parallels, anything that you can work on and say, well, if we don't do this, we'll be fine?
Well, I think it's the same thing. First of all, the 2 losses we had are the 2 top teams in the South. Mm-hmm. According to the rest of the poll, but also when you match up and play them on the field, it's the best we're going to see all year. The second part of that is just turnovers. We didn't turn the ball over in the 2 games we played at home. Plus, it's home and away. So this week we have a chance to break that cycle and win on the road and do those things. But it's taking care of the football, making big plays when big plays come to you. And when that happens, we can be explosive offensively. We can shut down anybody defensively. But you have to make the play at the time when it arises, and that's something we've been inconsistent at.
In reading the recap and looking over the stats, it looked like it was kind of a defensive-minded game on both sides. Tell us a little bit about that, and maybe your thoughts about as the game progressed, maybe at halftime, what changes did you make, seeing that both defenses were having their way in the game?
Yeah, we held them to about a third of what they normally average on the ground. Nate Gunn is a tough back. He's a good physical runner up front, but our guys handled that part well. Going into halftime, we had a drive. We got a field goal out of it, and then we turned around and with 14 seconds left, whatever it was, it kicked off, and they took the ball all the way back and ended up getting a field goal. So there's again one of those things where a unit comes on the field, and this happens to be the kickoff cover unit. I don't care where the ball is kicked. We got to go tackle the guy. And at the end of the day, we didn't. He got all the way to the midfield or plus side. In a couple plays, in 14 seconds, they kicked the field goal, and all of a sudden it went 17-3 instead of 14-3 with us having the momentum going into the halftime. But at the halftime, we really just talked about doing it right. There was no panic. It was just go back out, play the game. And we got all the way down and had first and goal from the 2. And ended up with a missed play. We got a sack out of the deal, and all of a sudden we just get a field goal out of that one too. And that was 17-6 instead of 17-10. Right. And it's a whole different game. So a couple plays here and there, like I told the team on Sunday, really 2 plays away, or maybe 4 in 2 games of us being undefeated. But that's the Northern Sun. You can't afford to make those mistakes, and hopefully we continue to learn from it.
Sacks was one number that I looked at too. They sacked you guys 4 times. You didn't get a sack against Minnesota State. Can you kind of talk about that kind of pressure on defense?
Yeah, 2 of the sacks were just scrambling. He was kind of running around a little bit and ran out of time. But otherwise, our offensive line did a really nice job. One sack was on the back, and 1 sack was on the quarterback not throwing in the 3-step. So those are kind of misleading things about how we played up front. And defensively, they run the football, so you're not going to have any sacks. Our quarterbacks are running the ball, so both that and Sioux Falls. When you look at the sacks, it's like, geez, we're not getting to the quarterback. We hit that quarterback a lot. And one big third down where they threw it, to the back out on that little kind of a burst route, but or a wheel route, and we hit him right in the face. I mean, Devon smoked the kid, and he still found a way to get rid of it, and they ended up catching it and got a first down, and then they scored on that drive. So that's how close we are. So there's no panic. There's no distress. It's like, let's just go work a little bit harder in practice, try to get a little bit sharper in each possession that we have, no matter if it's offense or defense, and make the most of the opportunities we get.
You were saying before we started the show today that you want to get out there right away and play again. So what does practice look like this week? What are some of the things that you have to kind of change that you saw in your team this week?
Not a lot, Justin, to be honest with you. I mean, we practice hard, and we have a good football team. And the last 2 Thursdays offensively, we were ready to go. We're throwing the ball around well. Protections are set. We know where to run the football, where not to run it. We made all those adjustments. Just got to make plays. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's just performance level. And that's something we've been working on with this young, especially offensively, a young football team, and just try to make sure that they know that each possession has that much value. And we get in the red zone, we got to score touchdowns. And once that starts to take place, we get excited about that. Then you'll see the energies come back into our offense.
All right. Owen Burke was held to 107 yards passing. Sam Santiago Lloyd had 81 yards rushing on the ground. What are some things that the offense maybe needs to do to reinvigorate itself?
Well, 2 things. One is we still need to work on our protection. The guys did a nice job up front. We got a guest here today, Joe Carlson. But more importantly is that he needs to make a decision and go with it and throw the football. And then part 2 is we get to the last couple drives of the game, and we have 2 10-yard out routes basically that guys just drop the football. So if you're struggling a little bit, guys got to make plays. I mean, I know I keep saying that. It's kind of cliche, but it actually is what it is. And so it's 3 parts. And we got to be able to run the football, so we have more time to throw play action pass, and then we got to make plays when the ball's in the air. And we just didn't do that enough. Especially in big moments in the game.
All right, defensively, Devon Moore, you talked about him, 8 tackles for him. Cole Moncton had 7, including a tackle for a loss, and then you got an interception. Kenneth Sanders, tell me about that play.
Well, you're starting to hear some different names, too, besides just those guys. Noel Winch, who's here today, was a player of the week for us. And, you start looking at, the amount of talent that we have on that defensive side. We rotate a lot of guys in there, and Kenneth Sanders is one of those guys that come in. He can take over a football game. In fact, I told him before the game, I said, you're going to have a big day today, and he kind of smiled because he's playing behind Romo and a couple of those guys back there and Cam Gavin. And so when he gets his opportunity, I always wish for him the best. And here he got his hands on one. It was fun for him, and he was excited. And once we get some energy back in Kenneth, because he can change a football game because he's so physical and has great ability. So I'm really excited for his development.
All right, talk a little bit about special teams. 2 minutes left in this segment. Paul Ortiz kind of got back to his usual self. A couple field goals in the game. Yeah,
he did great. Yeah, he was punting the ball for us too, and kicking off. So he's kind of a 3-headed monster right there. But it was nice to get him back. The team accepted him back, and he came right back out and played. He had to make a tackle on one of the kickoff returns, so he kind of dinged his shoulder up a little bit. But as he was talking to the trainer, I'm like, his legs are fine. Let's get back out there. And he did, and he made a long field goal, 42-yarder, which was big for us in the game to keep us within striking distance. So, yeah, I was excited to get him back in the game.
All right. Any other takeaways from this Minnesota State game that you can look at and say, hey, this is maybe an anomaly. This is just what happened against Minnesota State. Let's continue the rest of the season.
No, I think it's bigger than that. I think it's a growth period for our football team. I mean, we have to say in the big games, we got to be in the big moment. We got to make the plays at that time. And we've been a little bit shy of that goal in both of the big games we had. We got another one coming this week. Moorhead went to a bowl game last year. And they're a very good football team. Then we got Bemidji coming up in a couple weeks, and they were 8-3. So and St. Cloud's got one of the best defenses in the league right now. So there's a lot of football out there left, but nothing that we can't handle if we do things right. So we got to get from our talent from practice and talent that's playing pretty well in the intermediate games to play at that very high level against the best in the league, and we got 3 more of them coming.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, Noel Winch will join us right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
Let's do it. Pow!
Christy, welcome to Garage Squad.
Congratulations.
Put your thing down and we'll do the pull up. Yeah, we're done.
Piece of cake.
Come on, there we go.
You guys ready to see it?
Yeah, baby.
It's just very emotional.
A dream come true.
Garage Squad. New episode Wednesday at 10 on Motor Trend.
See you guys then.
There are a lot more sad moments than happy moments. Never could you have prepared me for what we deal with here.
This is what we do, and this is what we've always done.
Get your little head. To get to give such an incredible dog to a home filled with so much love.
You're home. You're home, girl.
This is something that we will remember forever.
This fall, start Saturday strong on Fox. Every Saturday at 11. Get started with the all-new Big Noon Kickoff pregame show. Unbelievable! It's about to start! Followed by the Big Noon Saturday Game of the Week. Touchdown! Start Saturday strong. Start Saturday on Fox.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Noel Lynch joins us. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us. It's awesome.
All right. Well, I didn't mention your name when we were talking about defense, but you did have 5 tackles in the game against Minnesota State. So you heard what Coach had to say about the game. What were your thoughts on the Warrior performance against the Mavericks?
On defense side, every time we step out there for a new possession, we just kept saying how blessed we were. I mean, you look at the weather that day and the field and the atmosphere, the fans there. I just love playing there. Tough result, obviously, at the end, but every time we'd step out there, we'd talk to each other and just show appreciation of how blessed we are to be playing this game right now.
All right. Overall thoughts on if anything needs to be changed from Minnesota State to this week against Minnesota Moorhead?
Well, it's a tough comparison because as Minnesota State, they run the ball a lot. That's what they're focused on compared to Moorhead. 3-step, they're trying to get the ball off, and sacks are not going to come easy. We have one of the best D-lines I've ever seen. Playing behind them is a blessing, and it's going to be tough with the 3-step, but I think we're going to keep the same mentality and just keep having 11 hats to the ball.
All right.
You know, I'll talk a little bit about the old man in the middle, a little bit with you and Smith and Pridge. I mean, he's like 30. So, you know, the linebackers back there are a pretty old and experienced group, and you've been obviously a big part of our program for a long time. But what is it like now that you're at the end of the career playing inside with that defense that we have right now?
It's awesome. I love every second of it. Like we were saying earlier, just go out there talking to Michael Gomez or even Cole Liberty, just seeing those guys out there. These guys have been my best buds since freshman year, and we've just been bonding, and it's just great playing football with your best friends.
You know, it was funny because on Sundays, occasionally we'll have scrimmages for the young guys. And I'm going to go back to when you were a freshman playing on those Sunday scrimmages and how you were running around and goofing around with the guys and having fun. And now here you are 5 years later. Just give me a brief overview of that trip along the way.
It was a long time coming, but yeah, those scrimmages, I mean, look at the mental part. Not everyone knew what was going on, so you couldn't play full speed to your potential. But you look now, everyone knows what they're doing. I know what he's doing in front of me. I know what he's doing behind me. Everyone is working on the same page, so we can just fly around a lot faster now, and it's awesome seeing it.
Very good.
One of the things that we've kind of talked about all season long was injuries and people coming back from injury. I want to go back a little bit. I found your recruiting profile from back when you were in high school, and one of the things it talked about was that you played half of your senior year with a broken right hand. Tell us a little bit about that and what it takes to play half a season with a broken right hand.
Yeah, that was not too fun. That was during a Thursday walkthrough. I think it was our last play of the game. It was a field goal block. Blocked it. I go up to pick it up, and some guy dives and snaps my hand right up. And I was just going to play. That Friday I went to class. Lunch, got pulled up by the head coach, and he looked at me and goes, "You got to see a doctor." So lunch, take my lunch, go to the hospital, get an x-ray. Realize it's broken, put a cast on, and I'm like, if I can still play, it's okay. And next thing you know, I got this 20-pound club on my arm, swinging it around, kind of looking like Ryan Cush out there.
Right.
And it was tough. It was painful, but then again, there's times where you can fight through injuries.
So how do you adapt to that on the field, not being able to use one of your hands out in the field?
Well, catching the ball is a challenge, because there were some plays where I got right in front of the route and went like this, catch it, and it just went right through my hands, hit me in the chest, and that was a tough one. But other than that, tackling's the same. You need to wrap up. You can't grab them, obviously, with that hand as it's clubbed up, but you swing that thing around, you can use that to your advantage.
One of the last questions I have for you, Noel, is just, playing with the guys on that defense, right? Right now, they're flying around so much, but really from the inside out, what's the coolest part about being part of the Warrior defense?
Coolest part? There's a lot of cool things, but like I said in the beginning, when we were walking out there, how much everyone just cares for each other. There's no other group in the nation that I'd rather walk out there on the field with, and it's just awesome playing with them, because everyone's got your back. You mess up on a play, they're right there to let you know you messed up, but we got this next play to stuff them. So
that's awesome. And the last one I have, Justin, is getting ready for graduation, and you're at your end of your career. And by the way, congratulations on all you've done. But what do you got left to do here as a Warrior?
You just wait and see. We got a lot of games ahead of us right now. Next thing I got is beat Moorhead, so that's what the focus is right now.
Okay.
All right, last question I have. Is football going to be a part of your future once you're done being a Warrior?
Looking forward to it. I honestly do want to coach. I want to get involved with that, because I think my knowledge for the game has been growing for the past few years, and I feel like that I could contribute to other teams.
All right, well, thank you for being here today, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a break on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, Joe Carlson will join us right after this.
Get ready to rock the block. 4 top designers, 4 suburban homes. The renovation showdown is on.
This is my turn. I don't like to lose. This is gonna be fun.
I'm gonna crush the competition.
It's time to rock the block. Rock the Block. Series premiere Monday, October 21st at 9 on HGTV.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
Is it possible the experts have been wrong all along? There are still important answers that need to be uncovered.
The search continues.
Is this the single most credible UFO experience ever recorded?
To question what we know.
Could 2190 be our last year on Earth? Could Nessie possibly exist?
Go!
We have the final piece of the puzzle.
Zachary Quinto returns in search of. All new Fridays at 10 on History.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Joe Carlson is now here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I want to go back to high school for you first, because you probably already know what I'm going to ask you about here. Multiple sport athletes is kind of a recurring theme that we have here.
Yep.
You were a multiple sport athlete, played football, and then your senior year, you played tennis.
I did.
Tell me about how that worked, how you decided for just your senior year to go out for the tennis team.
Well, it actually started, me and actually my best friend back in high school was our fullback on our tennis team and our football team. And then we decided actually just in a senior year gym class, we had a tennis unit and we were enjoying it. So we decided that, hey, let's just join the tennis team and see what happens. And we joined as a doubles team and we ended up making varsity. And we actually had a winning record. We went like 12-11, so. It was fun. It was funny how many weird looks we got from other tennis players when we walked out onto the court, but yeah, I had a great time.
And you had to win in subsections as well.
We did. We actually, yeah.
So there was talk of you winning a state championship as a tennis player.
Yeah, I don't know how much talk.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, go right back into being a multiple sport athlete, and we have many of them on the offensive line right now, but how important is that in your development and the skills that you have to have now?
No, it's really important. I mean, you learn quickness from basketball. I played my whole life, and just being able to move, and that's very important as an O-lineman with footwork and stuff like that. So just playing different sports, it's really important to just make sure you grow as an all-around athlete.
What people don't understand, I don't think, it's they see big, huge guys, you know, we're smashing people, and you see Sam running around back there. But the footwork is critical in playing the position. Why don't you explain what that is?
Yeah, I mean, people don't really see that. They don't watch it technically unless you're actually in the room. But yeah, every play there's a certain footwork that you need to do to get you the right spot to block the right people. And if you screw that up, you're going to lose that rep, and that's just, you got to make sure that's your first focus on every play.
Okay.
Now, you're a sophomore. One of the things that we hear about all the time when offensive linemen come in here for the show is the fact that you have to bond with everybody else that's on the line. You have to know where everybody is going to be, play in and play out. How long did it take you to assimilate yourself into the offensive line here at Winona State?
We just got some great guys in that room. I mean, I love them all, and we're like brothers. So, you know, right from the get-go, we started bonding, and, you know, we just continue. We hang out all the time, and once you get to know each other that well, you just learn out on the field what they're going to do, and you can move as one unit.
All right. You heard what Coach had to say about this past week. What are your thoughts on the offensive line play this season for the Warriors?
You know, we got a bunch of young guys out there, but, you know, I think we work hard every day in practice. We come to work hard, and I think we're just going to go out there. We're going to play our hardest as we can on every play, and, you know, we're just going to give our best, and hopefully we get some better outcomes going on, and I expect we will moving forward.
Okay. You know, really, in that offensive line, you got two redshirt freshmen. You got yourself, who's a redshirt sophomore, and then you got Carter, who's a redshirt junior, in the starting five. How difficult is that when you're playing again in big games and you see all these different pictures, and yet you only got like 14 games under your belt? How do you handle that?
No, I don't. You just got to go back to your preparation during the week. You know, you can't think about that. You just got to think about what we talk about in practice, and because we do enough preparation, we know what they're going to do. We just got to go out there and execute our game plan, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right, and what is it like? What's a success for you when you're out on the field? Is it if the running back gets a big run?
Definitely. I mean, an O-line, there's not much glory for us individually, so it comes down to the group. You know, as long as we're scoring touchdowns, that's fine with me.
All right.
You know, and the last question I have is really about the food intake on the offensive line, because I'm really an offensive lineman at heart. No, I mean, you talk about bonding and those kind of things, but the amount of mass and the size guys we have, how important is that for our future as you only being a sophomore?
No, for sure, it's huge. I mean, we all eat a lot. You know, one of the biggest things, one of our bonding this summer was Carter actually had us over to his house, and we had a cookout as an O-line, and that was just hung around, had a good time, and ate a lot of food. So it was a good time.
All right. Well, thank you for being here today, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll talk about next week. That's coming up right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
This is the SmackDown!
If you missed a minute of America's smash hit,
I've gotten the chills all over my body. That's how amazing your voice was.
it's not too late to catch up on the show critics say you just can't stop watching. You won't believe the celebrity we reveal in the next all-new episode.
Oh my God!
The Masked Singer, all new Wednesdays, and catch up anytime on demand or Fox Now.
In the Pac-12, it's all about the fight. The enemy has a beat on you, so you bear down with clenched teeth. Without warning, you unleash a stampede. You fight for your pride. You fight for your colors. You fight on to live another day. Pac-12 football on FS1, or watch anywhere on the Fox Sports app.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. I want to talk a little bit about offensive line first. You heard Joe say there's not a lot of glory in the offensive line. So when you're looking to recruit offensive linemen, what is it that you're looking for?
Well, first, they have to meet the specs, sort of say. And first, we look at grit. I mean, we want guys that want to play physical football. Two, we need some mass. I mean, we need to have some size. And, in the last 3-4 years, we really made that more of an emphasis. So if you see what we've done the last couple of years, and you have in recruiting, it's getting more and more massive. We feel that we can teach the rest. But we also, like I talked with Joe about being a multi-sport athlete, we also want to see that. Peyton Dacko, he's an all-time leading scorer in basketball history. He was on the show. Yep. I mean, those kind of things, because those kids are they're better in listening. They understand how to move their bodies. And having a big body and being athletic is two really important pieces. And, we have a lot of that right now.
Are there certain other sports that you want players to have played before they come here?
Not necessarily. We just like them to do more than just football. A lot of times it's weightlifting, which is all mostly linear. So we want to see guys that are throwing the shot or the discus in track. We want to see guys that are wrestling. We want to see guys that are playing tennis. It's a big market for us. But we like baseball players too. Guys that are just athletic kids that been playing games their whole life. Those kids usually have the most success at the college level.
Can we expect a Warrior football tennis tournament now that you have a tennis program?
Well, there's going to be some talk about it, and right now he's the #1 seed, so we'll see if we have any challenges. I'm sure Noel will take him on.
Okay, let's move on now to this upcoming weekend and talk a little bit about Minnesota State Moorhead. What do you know about them? What do you expect to see about them this week?
Well, they're a good football team. We only play these teams in the North every other year, so you don't really know a lot about them. Their quarterback has been around for a couple of years. They do, like Noel said, the ball comes out quick. They're a fast passing team. People will see when they watch it or see the highlights from the game, it'll be very similar to Upper Iowa as far as the ball coming out quick, bubble screens, running draws, quarterbacks running around. They're very scattered, but the difference with this quarterback and their offense is they'll just turn around and throw it deep, and they'll do it often. And they'll just take a chance on an interference or a big catch, and they've done that in the first 4 games this year quite a few times. And then defensively, they're just more of a pressure team. When they come, they are going to bring everybody. But we feel like we got a pretty good handle on that. But it's going to be kind of an erratic game. It's how they play. And it's kind of a little bit more chaotic than what we're used to so far, but looking forward to the challenge.
We've been talking about the travel roster a lot this year with back-to-back road games. Do you expect a lot of changes? Do you expect the same travel roster?
Well, I expect some changes because there are some kids that didn't do the job that we were hoping for on the last trip, and so we opened up the door to our players, especially on our special teams, that if you're not doing the job, we're going to get somebody else that can. So some kids are really excited about trying to find a way to get on the bus because you never get in a game until you actually get on the bus, and so there's some open challenges this week in practice. So how kids practice this week is going to be important because we can only bring 58. We're going to bring 3 specialists, and so it's a battle even for offense and defense. The first week we traveled to Sioux Falls, we had 27 offensive players, 28 defense. Last week we had 28 offense, 27 defense. We're leaving good kids in Winona, and that's a problem. So to get on the bus is a privilege, and we'll see how practice goes.
All right, and then we go through the injury report. How did you come out of the Minnesota State game?
Actually, we came out clean. We didn't have any further injuries. We had some that kind of re-aggravated stuff, but they're playing with it, which is normal. So right now, we're going to go in full strength, minus Javian Roebuck still isn't playing with us right now, but otherwise we're as strong as we can be, especially going into Game 5.
All right, and then what is the update on Javian Roebuck?
Yeah, he's practicing a little bit now this week. He's got his his elbow. He's got a kind of a restrictor, not a cast, but just a brace on it. But he's ready to go. He's not cleared yet, so as soon as he's cleared, we'll put the football in his hand. And so first, he's got to be able to handle practice and be able to do those things. I'm not worried about people hitting it. It's they'll handle the contact, but he's got to be able to do his job because if he can't do his job, our quarterback gets hit. So he's got to make sure that once he's healthy, we're putting him back on the field.
All right, and what do you have coming up for the Thursday luncheon?
Thursday luncheon, again at noon at the Riverport. It's a lot of fun. We've had some great guests last week. Of course, we'll see if these 2 guys are available. We'll bring those guys back. But more importantly, it's just another chance to watch some highlights, talk about our team, and give our kids an opportunity to get in front of a group again. And this is just part of their overall development, getting in front of a camera. So I appreciate that from HBC as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining us this week, and good luck this week.
Thanks, man.
All right, Britt. Thank you for joining us here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll see you next week here on HBC TV 25.